This is Lesson 1.2, Use FXML with JavaFX. Let's begin with what is FXML and why you should use it with JavaFX. So what is FXML? FXML is a declarative XML-based markup language that describes a UI's component layout. With FXML, scene graphs can be created in separate files and loaded at runtime. Okay, but why is FXML useful? Most importantly, scene graphs are now described in FXML. This keeps the FXML view of your GUI separate from the Java controller that manipulates the components. You can also use drag and drop tools like Scene Builder to generate FXML files that you can later modify. And all this reduces the Java code that you have to write. As you will see, FXML cuts down on Java code because you don't have to create component objects and configure them with setters in Java. FXML also makes it easier to visualize the hierarchical structure of your scene graph. So how do you work with FXML and JavaFX? First, you need an FXML file. With FXML markup, you define controls, shapes, and layout elements and configure them in an FXML file with a .fxml extension. The FXML file also specifies the associated Java controller class. Now, in the Java controller class, @FXML annotations define the UI components with the same names as the IDs specified in the FXML file. Inside the overridden initialize method, you perform bindings and specify custom behaviors for the controls, such as event handlers or animations. Now, you'll also need a main Java class, and this is the main program which loads the FXML file and sets the scene and the stage. And the main Java class is typically small, too. Let's walk you through the steps now to create an application with JavaFX and FXML. In step 1, the main program is a Java class that invokes the FXML loader. In step 2, the FXML loader parses the FXML file and builds a scene graph. In step 3, the FXML loader creates an instance of the Java controller class and invokes the controller's initialize method. At this point, the main program can now set the scene on the stage. Okay, let's show you an example with JavaFX and FXML now. Here's a screenshot of our program called Hello Java FXML. It looks the same as the program we showed you in the previous lesson. Only this time, we implement the program with FXML so you can see the design approach and the advantages. We'll also use the exact same scene graph as before, except that in this program, the scene graph will be generated from the FXML file. Okay, let's show you the code now. Here's the code for the Hello Java FXML program. Note that there are 3 files here: the FXML file, the Java controller class, and the main Java class. Let's show you each one of these files separately. We'll start with the FXML file. This XML markup defines a stack pane element that begins here and ends here. Inside the stack pane, we define the rectangle element here and text element here. Each element is configured with attributes ranging from IDs to properties. Inside the stack pane element, we specify the Java controller class with the FXController attribute. Now, the rectangle element defines its FXID as rectangle. Likewise, the text element defines its FXID as text. The other attributes define the properties for each element. For example, the rectangle sets its properties such as arc height, arc width, fill color, and so on. In the same way, the text element sets its fill and text properties. The rectangle also defines a drop shadow element. Here, we set the drop shadow's color and Y offset properties. We also specify an FXID with the string drop shadow. This makes it possible to reuse the same drop shadow element in the text control using the $drop shadow notation. The text element also defines a style property that sets the point size for the text string and makes the text bold. Next, let's look at the Java controller class. Here, @FXML annotations mark the Java fields representing our rectangle and text components. Note that the names rectangle and text must match the FX IDs in the FXML file we just showed you. Now the annotations are important because they let you access the objects defined in the FXML. This allows you to configure them in the controller class using Java setters and other methods. For example, in the initialize method, we create the fade transition and set its properties. And here is where we apply it to the text component. Note that the rectangle component is not used in this program, but could be if the rectangle needed to be configured at runtime. The last file is the main Java program. Here, the start method loads the FXML file with this statement. Note that that's all we have to do to define the root of our scene graph, which is used to create the scene here. The rest of this code you've seen before. Let's run this program now. You'll see that it gives us the same result as before. Note that the Java components stack pane, rectangle, and text are instantiated by the FXML loader. This means you don't see any Java code that creates them in either the controller class or the main program. And note how short the main program has become. This separation of view using FXML with the controller written in Java is a major advantage of using FXML with JavaFX.